mysterious, hushed tone. Berlin during the Great War was fought as much in the shadows as it was in the trenches, and hiding in those shadows was a Russian spy ring known as Perun. They operated like ghosts, seemingly omniscient, moving with impunity right under the noses of German and Allied counterintelligence. Perun's objective was to acquire the plans for the next major joint Allied offensive on the Western Front. Success would allow them to feed that intelligence to the east, letting the Russians coordinate a counterblow designed to fracture the alliance through sheer mass slaughter on the front lines. To stop them, Allied intelligence agent Raymond Clinton tried a standard counter-espionage tactic: find a weak link. He identified a dead-ridden clerk in the War Ministry who was feeding Perun scraps, flipped him, and used the clerk to pass a carefully forged troop transport schedule right into the network.
This move followed the traditional spycraft playbook, yet it proved ineffective against a network that seemed to anticipate every tactical trap before it was even set. Katerina Volkov, the mastermind behind Perun, reviewed Clinton's forged schedule and found it suspiciously convenient. The document targeted a known weak point in the Russian lines, the exact move the Germans should have made. To Volkov, the strategic perfection of the file identified it as a baited hook. Instead of discarding the fake intelligence, Volkov orchestrated a countermove. She forwarded the schedule to Moscow with a warning, then recommended they heavily reinforce the Vistula River, where she correctly deduced the real German advance was heading. This German panzer tank, bogged down in the winter snow, represents the physical cost of that intelligence failure. Because Volkov anticipated the move, the German 12th Panzer Division drove directly into a massive Russian ambush near the Vestrina. The entire division was effectively wiped from the order of battle. Post-action analysis revealed a chilling detail. Volkov had coordinated her counterattack less than 12 hours after receiving the forgery. She moved with a speed that suggested she didn't merely suspect a trap, she had been explicitly warned about it beforehand. Defeating Perun would require a shift in strategy. Clinton realized he had to stop hunting street-level couriers and start hunting the source of Volkov's inside information. Raymond traced the leak by mapping the small group with access to the Vistula mission's original planning. The investigation narrowed to the highest levels of Allied command, specifically a British undersecretary named Sir Alistair Finch. As a member of the Joint Strategic Council, Finch had constant access to secure rooms like this one. He saw every Allied logistics report and high-level operational plan, essentially serving as an open window for Russian intelligence. This access created a specific psychological blind spot for Perun. While Volkov remained paranoid about any intelligence originating from German sources, she viewed Finch as a primary, unimpeachable British asset. She relied on his data with absolute trust. Raymond decided to exploit this trust. Instead of arresting Finch, he would use the traitor as a conduit. By feeding Finch a new fabricated plan, the Allies could bypass Volkov's defenses and deliver a lie she was predisposed to believe. The vulnerability of a perfect intelligence network often lies in its primary source. When that source is compromised, the spymaster's unquestioning trust becomes the mechanism for their own destruction. Raymond, working with German intelligence, crafted the Belgium Gambit. It was a masterpiece of the mundane, a forged operational plan that swapped drama for the dry, repetitive language of military bureaucracy. This coastal landscape at Ostend Beach was the geographic target of the fake invasion. It was a logical Allied maneuver, representing the kind of audacious flanking attack the French High Command had long feared the Germans might attempt. To make the document verifiable, Raymond included authentic vellum paper, official classification stamps, and an exact replica of the personal authorization of General von Falkenhayn, shown here at the bottom of his portrait. The plan was leaked to Finch by leaving a courier briefcase unattended in a secure office. Finch, motivated by greed and a belief that he could outmaneuver his colleagues, stole the data to secure his value to Moscow. Katerina fell for the gambit because it bypassed her suspicion of German traps. It also confirmed her pre-existing bias that the English were planning secret, unilateral maneuvers without consulting their allies. The most effective deceptions don't rely on perfect data. They rely entirely on confirming the pre-existing biases of the target. Volkov viewed the Belgian gambit as the ultimate war-winning secret. The document detailed how the anticipated push on Paris was merely a feint, designed to hide a massive amphibious assault on the Belgian coast. However, the scale of the claim forced Volkov into a fatal error. To verify Finch's intelligence, she ordered her hidden Berlin network to actively hunt for street-level rumors regarding the deployment, pushing her operatives into the open. Raymond anticipated this. He planted an officer in a Berlin bar to get drunk and loudly complain about a secret reassignment to the coast. Volkov's team snatched the officer and interrogated him, providing her with the independent verification she required to trust the lie. Convinced the plan was real, Volkov escalated the intelligence to the absolute highest executive level. She forwarded the Belgium gambit directly to the Russian High Command and Tsar Nicholas II, pictured here. Katerina's need to act on what she believed was perfect intelligence is what finally exposed her invisible network to the light. The physical fallout was immediate. By hunting for the planted rumors, Volkov's operatives revealed their identities, allowing German counterintelligence to sweep in and violently dismantle the Perun network in Berlin. But the strategic fallout on the front lines was even more severe. This map shows the actual dense Russian defensive line as it stood when Volkov sent her report. Acting on the Belgium gambit, the Russian High Command ordered their reserve units to break off from the main front line. They began a massive, rapid westward migration to defend against an amphibious assault that didn't exist. This shift created a massive, pulsing gap in the actual Russian front, leaving the line entirely defenseless right where the real German offensive was massing. Perun was not defeated by superior technology or better firepower. It was destroyed by the realization that an intelligence network's greatest asset, unquestioning trust in a perfect source, can be reverse-engineered into its fatal weakness.